I chose to volunteer in the community at Johnson City's Adult Day Services. This program works to assist adults with various physical and mental illnesses, and specifically to maintain their independence. I chose to work at this site because I love working with kids and I love building new relationships, so I thought it would be a good new experience to try out with adults. The history of ADS is it opened two sites in November of 1982. So this month will be 42 years that they've been open. Their first sites were at Grandview Christian Church and then Mountain View Baptist. This service program provides services for adults anywhere from 18 to 100, and anybody who's facing mental and physical ability issues, the opportunity to remain independent, to be a little active, to socialize, and coming here also gives them a sense of routine and belonging. There are also assessments that go on before somebody is admitted into being a client and into the organization. So the director, she will take the families in and she'll do assessments that um, decide whether or not they are eligible to be in the program or whether they need to be somewhere else. So the main issue in this program is mental and physical disabilities. The sponsors are Social Services Block Grant, VA contract, which is for veterans, Blue Care, WellPoint, United Healthcare, United Way grant, and then private pay fee. And then they also accept donations. Yes, there are multiple sources which ensure stability, so they're good sources of funding, and they would probably get new furnishing or more activities for the clients if they had more to spend. Funding is important because services and jobs like this are not as common. Like if you're thinking about a job, you may think lawyer, doctor, teacher, nurse, but you're not really going to think adult daycare employee. Like it's the little jobs that you don't exactly always think of. They're easily overlooked. But some of these services are so vital in people's lives, so it's important to have reliable sources of funding for them. Considering I generally work more with children, I didn't know what to expect coming into it. I've never really been in an environment like this one, but I assumed that I would be observing, assisting, and interacting with the clients. I just wasn't sure how much, based on confidentiality. A really unique thing about this site is that no one is separated by ability. So I think I mentioned this during my show and tell. Um, but I know um, Miss Rogers, she worked at an adult daycare services one time, and the clients were separated by ability, and they had different classrooms and different activities, different things to do throughout the day. So I think that it's really unique because they're all together. Everyone sits together in the same room. Everyone does the same thing. Everyone talks to each other. They're not separated like that. So it's just kind of different because I feel like you wouldn't see that very often. Which I think they do that because they don't have as many employees or as many clients as like a normal service site would, maybe in a bigger population or a different location. But I just think it's also really cool that they're able to do it this way. So that leads into my next point. I wish there were more employees. I think it would be nice to let the adults kind of choose when they do what activity. But due to limited staff, everyone stays together. So, like, there's this guy that I like to sit with all the time, but if the other clients want to, like, get up and do their little exercises, like, they'll put on the cha-cha slide or the Cupid shuffle and let them kind of get up and dance and try to do some exercise. But the guy that I like to sit with, he's more chill, he just kind of likes to sit outside or, like, listen to music. And so he just kind of sits there quiet. And, like, I'm sure he doesn't mind, but just watching kind of makes me sad sometimes because he's older and he's there for his own, like trying to give him something to do during the day. So kind of having to wait around like it's a children's daycare. It is an adult daycare. So it's just different. I think that treating them more like adults than children um, would benefit them more with maintaining their independence. Um, the civic responsibility that I've been growing, or sorry, I've grown in my civic responsibility because doing this reminds me of the importance of serving time to the community. Um, I used to volunteer all the time in high school. I was in National Honor Society, I was in youth leadership, student council, student government, all of that. And so since moving here, I haven't been doing a lot of community service. I've been kind of getting into my routine and just figuring out what I like to do up here and just what I need to do, my homework. And so doing something like this has just reminded me that it's not only an advantage to me to be in the community doing stuff like this, but to other people, and that it's important to stay, even if you're not doing it for a class or for hours that you need for yourself. I also think that I've grown in my professional development when talking to community members or friends or family that aren't a part of the adult day services. I have to be extremely careful when talking about clients and their names because you can't talk about their situation or who they are um, to remain confidentiality. So I obviously when I leave, I have stories that I want to tell and I have relationships that I've built with these people. So I just have to be careful in doing that and talking to others, trying to encourage them to do the same thing that I'm doing and giving them the points and advice that I can without um, interfering with the assessments that I did before I came in that enabled me to work with these people. I also think that I've grown in my social understanding. Everyone within the program that are clients interact as friends that know each other and care about each other. And it just sticks out to me so much that they don't notice the differences. Um, and that it just really sticks out to me that they're all together because they'll come in and um, there's this specific guy and he always goes around the room asking people how their night was, how their day was, what they had for dinner. And it's just like any kid going to school talking to all their friends. And not that there should be a difference because there shouldn't be, but because so often we see people pointing out the differences in ability issues and things like this, it's just really cool to be in an environment where it's everybody's completely the same. Nobody's being pointed out for a difference, nobody's separated, everybody gets to choose where they sit, everybody's friends with everybody. It's just really cool. Long term, I want to be a licensed marriage and family therapist, but working my way up, I expect to talk and learn about all different types of people and families. So all types of encounters and interactions are good to learn from. I might be dealing with kids that are having issues with divorced parents. I might be dealing with families that are having a hard time coping with maybe a child or a family member with a disability issue that they're having a hard time because it's their responsibility to take care of, or whatever it is. Like I'm supposed to be there for these people, so I feel like I need to have my own personal experience a little bit in some of the fields because there are a lot of things that I won't be able to relate with and will just have to help based on what I've learned and what I've picked up in my classes and the things that are supposed to get me ready for my major and my career. But I'm going to be involved with all different types of people. I was surprised by the lack of employment as well as the lack of activity for the clients. There are only 4 employees. Two of them are to interact and watch over the clients, and 2 of them also do that, but they're there because you have to have 2 nurses on site, so they are the nurses. Um, and then Haley is the director, but she's normally in her office or doing client assessments or figuring out activities. She's just not usually like in there with the clients and with us. So that's why everyone stays together. That's why everyone kind of does the same activity. Like if we're listening to music, everybody's listening to music. Or if somebody's coloring, then somebody's coloring and everyone else is kind of just talking, sitting, socializing. Like um a group doesn't go out to the craft room while another group stays here. I actually haven't even been a part of crafts going on, unfortunately. And I'm only there 5 hours a week. I'm there 2 hours one day, 3 hours another day. So it could be the timing that I'm there. But we always stay in the one room that we are in when I'm there. Um, it has been mentioned to me that they do crafts. I'm not sure when they do it, or if everybody does it, but I know that everybody goes together, and I know that everybody doesn't always enjoy to do things like that. So, just the lack of these adults being able to do what they want when they want, because the point of the organization is to maintain their independence. So I feel like letting them choose what they want to do is a big part of that. Um, so they like to watch a lot of movies. We've watched Home Alone, we've watched Santa Claus. TV, they like Jeopardy, The Price is Right. Occasionally we'll get on YouTube and play Guess That Sound. It'll play anything from like the click of a pen to the start of a car, and it just gives you like 5 seconds to guess what the sound is. And the clients really like it and they have a good time trying to figure out what it is. The exercises or physical activity that they do is, like I mentioned, the Cupid Shuffle, the Cha-Cha Slide. They'll turn on line dancing and just kind of let the clients get up and follow the steps and stand there. Or they'll put on these chair dancing videos where these ladies are sitting in a chair doing little dance moves with their hands to music, which is a lot easier for some of the adults. Other things they do, like I said, listen to music, color, socialize. They like puzzles. The 50 States puzzle is like the favorite one. Um, so there's this lady who I know I've talked about plenty of times, but I ended up getting really close with her, and one of her favorite things to do is to color. She's always coloring, and it's always either a hot air balloon or butterflies. Normally it's a hot air balloon, but occasionally it's butterflies. And she has this folder, and it's like this thick with all of her stuff done. One side is all of her done drawings, and they're all laminated. And she's got a little folder inside of like the next drawings that she plans to do. And then there's this other old man, who I sit with pretty much every time I go now. And I've gotten pretty close with him because he reminds me of my great granddaddy. He's just really sweet. He doesn't talk a lot, and when he sits there, he just asks me about my day, and when he has his coffee, he asks if I want coffee, and after lunch, he asks if I want lunch, and I'll eat there with them, so I always say no, but he's just really sweet. There's this guy, like I mentioned earlier, that always walks around asking people about how their day was, how their night was. He likes to talk about new news events and the weather. Um, and then there's a guy who he's the clown of the group. He's definitely an interrogator and an instigator. He likes to get all the employees riled up. He hardly ever sits down during the day, and he'll just interrogate you about anything. Um, there's this other guy and this girl who I thought at first when I came in, I thought they were like married. They were like sitting with each other and joking, and just the way that they interacted, they were just so funny. They acted like an old married couple, but they're not. And so the guy, he walks around every day with a little fanny pack around his waist. And he's just goofy. He just makes jokes throughout the day. He's like anybody's funny old grandpa. And then the girl, she's hilarious because she doesn't mean to be. She'll have all these fights with the employees, not actual fights, but they'll just be talking, and one of them will come behind her and like tickle her, grab her, and she'll go, "Well, I'm coming for you next," or something like that. She's just very playful and fun to get along with. Um, so organizations, for the most part, they want to accept any kind of offered help from the community. These are the three facts. Some sponsors give specific requirements needed to be met, like scholarships to keep the income. Like one of the sponsors that are given to the adult day services have a requirement of 31 clients, which we have 32. Um, but in order to keep the sponsor, you have to have at least 31 people coming in, for the service. Then my third interesting fact is that there's a lot more going on in the community than anyone would know if you aren't finding places to get involved with where you can learn. Like I said, an adult daycare service is something that's very easily overlooked. You don't really see or understand the problems surrounding little things like that until you're really in there, and seeing it and experiencing it firsthand. I still think I work a lot better with children because I'm better with nurturing, which is more appropriate with children. But I still had a really good time with the service experiment and with everything I got to do. Something that I learned is that meanness is taught, it's not natural. I think that's like kind of a controversial thing that people talk about quite often. But you can see with these adults that have already lived like a pretty good and full life, and they just interact as if, I mean, you can just see how genuine and how pure it is. It's hard to explain, but um, there's not any meanness, there's not any intimidation, there's not any anxiety or nervousness. It's just they're nice. They just treat people as people. Sometimes it is difficult to know how to choose my words. This is the challenges that I've faced. If clients are talking to me about subjects that might not be appropriate or things they just shouldn't be talking to me about. Or if they get too close, personal space is a big thing in there. Some people don't understand it, they don't realize that it's important. And some people mean to invade your personal space. And so it's hard to know how to choose your words so that they still like you and want to be around you and their feelings aren't hurt and they don't think that you're doing it for any kind of reason other than generally you don't get in somebody's space. Um, Everyone's sweet and gentle for the most part, though, most of the time. Like there are times that people get riled up and that people get upset. Um, but for the most part, there's not any problems with things like that. Volunteers are always welcome. Performing talents and uplifting cards, they're always encouraged. Um, like I mentioned in my interview paper, there's a lady who will come play piano once a month. I have not seen her. I'm not sure when she comes. And there's also somebody who has come to sing. There's a guy who has played guitar. There's somebody who comes in to give haircuts once a month. So there's like little things that these people in the community know they can do and have offered to help up for these people. Because of my service learning, I am more aware that people with ability issues do face more challenging lives, but as people, we are all the same. They joke with me and ask me about my weekend plans and about school. They like to dance and sing and play sports and video games just like me, and there's no reason to see or treat these people differently. So coming in a full circle, like I've mentioned a few times throughout this, you can just see how everybody works together and how everybody's sweet, nobody's mean, nobody points out the differences in anybody here. Um, and it has just pointed out to me a lot that it's a lot of worldly issues when people are pointing out the differences and you see the stereotypes that come along with mental and physical disabilities. But then you put yourself in an environment as this one, and you're seeing these people and the things that they're doing to maintain their independence and um, these people that are helping them do it, and you see that it's really important and that there's no difference between any of them.